we should start with what was your circumstance like before you found, the dream girl? What was your
Oh my
life living
gosh.
situation? Yeah.
That's a good place to start because that makes it a good story. Um, Oof, man. It's so painful to think about that if it wasn't for a good cause. I was living in Warren, Ohio, and oh man, although I thought I was at rock bottom a few other times, this was one of the times in my life that I was rock bottom, and it just nothing was working for me. I was in a relationship that ended very badly, and I won't even go too much into detail because I don't want to cry or anything on your show, but it was a mess. It ended badly in many different ways, um, and my daughter was mixed up in that a little bit. So it was basically I had to turn something around,
Yeah.
and I was meditating a lot. I was deciding to go to Korea or
Okay.
not,
Hmm.
which I had made a goal to go live in Korea because I had visited Korea once before,
Hmm.
and I was late on that goal. I was like 3 years late, and I was just I didn't know I was literally asking these questions. Who am I? I was thinking if I was on a commune or in a commune or like if there was like a civilization with just a few people, you'd need a doctor and you'd need a this and a that.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking what role would I be
Yeah.
in a situation like that? And I didn't find my passion yet.
Right.
So I was a mess, but I was also ready to change, ready to I was reading tons of books. That year I read 30 some books on business. My goal was to read a book a week, but I fell short, but I still read over 30 books.
Yeah.
So I had I had all the info in
Yeah.
here, but I didn't have the action
Yeah.
figured out.
Yeah.
So I decided to go to Korea. I had this during one of my meditations. I had this pretty wild experience that I still. It sounds bizarre when I try to talk to people about it, but I basically had a gut feeling,
Yeah.
and once I had that, I kind of drew a line in the sand, and I was like, never again am I gonna be abused by someone or
Yeah.
by women.
Yeah.
This was like a relationship epiphany
Yeah.
that never again. I'm never gonna uh, if I know because I knew it was bad for weeks and months, but I was still riding it out for some reason.
Mm.
So I made a commitment to trust my gut feeling.
Yeah.
And then, so I went to Korea, and within a month, I met my wife. And I always say, like, if I would have known that it was so close, I wouldn't have had any of the hang-ups. I wouldn't have been depressed. I wouldn't have been
Yeah.
hanging on to something that wasn't working. If I would have known how close I was to meeting her, I would have just chilled out and enjoyed
Yeah.
myself.
Right. So when you say you had a gut feeling, and the gut feeling was basically telling you not to allow yourself to be abused,
Right.
how does that relate to the drive to go to Korea? I mean, it seems like the gut feeling to not, I mean, I could have a gut feeling to not be abused by women, and it wouldn't necessarily mean I'm going to get up and go to Korea, you know? So how do those two
Right.
connect?
Well, I guess I didn't know they would connect at the time, but
Yeah.
now, I mean, just from now looking back, they're connected.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go to Korea. I
Hmm.
had the goal to go by 2008, I think, and I was late on that. So it was
Yeah.
more like, well, if I'm going to be if I'm going to be rock bottom and nothing's going to work, I might as well
Right.
go do my goal that I had
Yeah.
planned.
Right. Right.
So so I went there, which was not easy at all
Yeah.
because I didn't have any money and I had to borrow to get my visa, and the
Yeah.
company paid my plane ticket to get there. I landed in Korea with like $100
Yeah.
that my dad gave me at the airport, and he probably would have given me more if he would have known that.
Yeah.
But and then I spent that within a couple days, and
Yeah.
that was brutal. But um, I guess the gut feeling led me in the right direction.
Yeah.
Um, and years before, I had made a list of my ideal woman.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I teach in my videos is you have to be specific. And I didn't make this up. I learned it from other really good people. And actually, I
Yeah.
saw Darren Hardy live speaking one time. He used to be the publisher of Success magazine,
Oh, okay.
and he's written a bunch of books and stuff as well. But he recommended to write your ideal partner, write a detailed list of exactly who they are. And then
Yeah.
at the end of that lesson, he said, now you go become the person that would attract
Right.
them.
Yeah.
So I had already made a list of my ideal woman years before, after what I thought was rock bottom
Yeah.
years before. So I kind of was familiar with, I believed, I believed that it would work, and I already had
Yeah.
the list, but I made the list again,
Yeah.
and I was feeling, I guess I was having interesting meditations around that time,
Yeah.
and I could feel something pulling me
Yeah.
that felt like, I mean, this sounds really weird, but I hope that it can help someone else.
Yeah.
I felt like a warm blanket wrapped around me.
Yeah.
Like and it was, I thought I was missing something from the past, like a good relationship from the past or something that I didn't really know what it was, but I guess when the story gets better when I actually go to Korea.
Yeah.
I went with my brother, and he introduced me to someone that was his student, and she asked me my ideal woman, and I already knew because I
Yeah.
had already made a list.
Yeah.
So I told her, she was really cool, and
Yeah.
I told her my list, just some of the things on the list, and so that was then like the next week or something. It wasn't long after that that I was actually teaching, and she showed up in my class,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then um, I was going around the room asking everyone about themselves,
Yeah.
and my wife was in that room,
Yeah.
and she said, and actually this is crazy, I was teaching the law of attraction.
Wow. Wow.
I was asking everyone in the room what if they could wave a magic wand, or if they could have anything,
Yeah.
what would they have?
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, the people in this room were not imaginative at all.
Yeah.
And I was kind of disappointed, like trying to, no, like
Right.
go big,
Yeah.
But so my wife says, I want a jet. So like this alarm was going off, and because
Yeah.
I also want a jet.
Yeah.
Actually, I want a solar jet. Is one of my
Oh,
huge
yeah.
goals. So when she said a jet, it was like
Yeah.
something, zapped me.
Right.
And then so then it also turned, and then I went around the room again or whatever, asking people what their hobbies are, and she said she's a musician and she plays viola,
Yeah.
which also I'm a musician, and that's
Right.
one of the prerequisites on my
Yeah.
ideal type.
Yeah.
So I was really interested at
Yeah.
this point, but then as soon as and actually one more from that day, I I asked her what kind of music she likes. Like as the class was filing out,
Mm.
I was like, "So what kind of music do you like?" Because I'm thinking, oh, she plays viola. She's not going to be into
Yeah.
punk rock or whatever. I was
Yeah.
in a thrash metal band or something, and I was
Right.
thinking, I was just assuming that I have a strange taste. And she said, fast music. She likes punk or something, and I was just like,
Yeah.
this is
Right.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So as soon as the class, ends, they filed out or whatever, I get a text message from that, like, I guess it was my wing woman in that class, and
Yeah.
it just said viola girl exclamation exclamation exclamation, and so she obviously recognized it as well,
Yeah.
and I was trying to just play it cool because I was trying to teach this class on law of
Yeah.
attraction.
Yeah.
So that was one of the worst classes ever, aside from meeting my wife. So then actually this other woman set up a meeting for us outside of that. And
Yeah.
so that was absolutely helpful because in Korea,
Yeah.
you don't really, the way that you meet people is
Mhm.
that you always have someone kind of connecting you.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to just, you don't just go up to someone and
Yeah.
do a pickup line or
Yeah. You
whatever.
just you don't just go on Tinder and like swipe right or something.
Right. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But in the normal world,
Yeah.
uh, actually people do meet on the internet. I've heard here,
Yeah.
but traditionally you have someone introduce you.
Yeah.
So I was sick during that introduction or during that like
Oh.
meeting. I
Yeah.
was sick, and like we stayed the night at some like spa kind of place, and
Mhm.
I slept on a wooden block like an idiot and totally ruined my neck. Like I couldn't even move the next day.
Oh
So
God.
here's me trying to hit on my wife, and I couldn't even move like past this. But I was giving it everything I had, and so I
Yeah.
was like, "So what are you doing?" Before we left, I said, "What are you doing later?" Or what do you like to do? And she said, she likes to go see live music. So I kind of invited myself. I was like, I would love to go with you sometime. When's the next, I don't know anything about the music scene here.
Yeah.
When's the next thing? And she said, well, actually, there's one tonight, or maybe it was tomorrow. And I said, can I come with you?
Yeah.
Which was a really ballsy move. I'm not
Yeah.
usually that
Right.
upfront. Plus, my neck was killing me. But
Yeah.
there, also, on along that night, I had also learned more things about her that were on my list.
Oh wow.
So I said, what do you like to do other than music? And she said, well, I exercise every day. And I was just
Yeah.
like, yeah!
Yeah.
And like while we were hanging out, she was stretching
Yeah.
just while we were sitting around talking, which is something that I do. And the people in America always make me feel like a weirdo that
Yeah.
I'm stretching all the time. So
Yeah.
so all these things were lining up, and it seemed too good to be true. I thought that uh, other person had tipped her off to all these things that
Yeah.
I like in a woman.
Right.
So
Right.
I thought there's no way that
Wow.
we're that similar.
Yeah.
So then we went to a violin solo as our first. It wasn't technically a date at that point, and like she said, all the other guys that I bring to these fall asleep, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was a magical
Yeah.
experience. And then we went to eat noodles right after, and we found out more similarities. Like we both were interested in adopting,
Yeah.
and which is really weird in Korea because
Yeah.
there's not much adoption in Korea just because of the culture.
Yeah.
That's why there's a lot of adopted Korean people living in America. You
Oh,
might
yeah.
know some people. So all of our little unique points were all lining up.
Yeah.
And our first real date was Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
which was just another, like, I don't really celebrate holidays much, and neither does she, but it has to mean something,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right.
And we actually got married 3 months after we met,
Yeah. That's awesome.
which I never thought I would be getting married, and she never thought she would get married.
Yeah.
So,
Wow,
I
that's
don't know,
beautiful. Did
yeah.
you ever tell her that? Did you ever tell her about the list and like, hey, you matched all these things and
Yeah,
oh, you
actually,
did? What did she say about
good question. I'm trying
it?
Um, I think, oh, she had done the same thing.
Oh, really?
She had actually cut out a picture of a foreigner, like a white guy,
Yeah,
basically,
you're
and
right.
had it in her notebook in high
Yeah,
school. And she had, like, she told me that she mentioned to her mom years ago, hey, what if I what if I dated a foreigner or something?
yeah,
So, which is a little bit of a taboo,
yeah,
but so she had already pretty much made a list
yeah.
that matched up with me.
Wow.
So that was another thing that just lined up
Yeah,
really well.
yeah,
And our personality types are different, but
yeah.
a lot of these key things are we're on the same page.
Right, right.
And we do business together now.
Yeah,
Um, every day. We work together, which was my dream,
yeah,
is to work with. I was looking for a business partner as a wife,
yeah,
and she started doing business with me. And then I asked her to marry me after
yeah.
we went into business together because it was just
Right,
too good to let
right,
go.
right. Awesome. Well, thank you, man.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for sharing that story. That's a beautiful story. And there are so many people who are looking for relationships. I mean, that's got to be the number one thing that everyone's trying to
I
manifest.
know.
So it's
I want
cool
to
to hear a
help all those
success story.
people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, I think that's about it. I'll probably get to editing this video maybe sometime next week and
Okay.
all that. I guess, are there any maybe final tips you want to give someone who is trying to manifest a wife or a husband and maybe isn't having immediate success? Any advice you'd give them?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know tons of people like that. And for me, since I know how to do this and have done it, I can see people and instantly see where they're screwing it up.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say back to where I start with everyone I'm coaching, all my clients, and I always recommend make a list of your goal, whether it's a relationship or not. If you want to be married or if you want whatever specifically you want, it might be totally different than what I want.
Mhm.
Detail it out on a list because there is a person out there that fits that description, but you won't know if you don't make a list.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if you do get into a relationship, you won't have a way to check if they're the right person for you because you're caught up in the emotion, maybe lust, maybe loneliness. You don't want to make decisions based on loneliness or lust,
Yeah.
which is that's what most people do.
Right.
So detail it out and then check each person. And if they fit the list, congratulations, you did it.